January 24th, 2023. Let's start with our roll call, please, Pat.
Derek Gander.
Present.
Donnie Greenlee.
Here.
David Weaver.
Here.
John Hurd.
Present.
Riley Hartwell.
Here.
Brent Jordan.
Present.
And Jeff Cope.
Present. Could you all please rise and follow me in the pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I move to approve the agenda as
I'll
presented.
second.
Here you all. Is there any changes to the agenda?
Oh, but yeah, Jeff, thank you. I appreciate that. I would like to take from consent agenda number 5 and move that into regular agenda so we can discuss that, please.
All right, so now I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve the agenda with the amendment.
And I'll second that.
Okay,
There
there
we
we go. Ryan, Derek, good job.
Thank you.
Please vote.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, okay, that motion passes. Okay, first up, we've got celebrations. All right, so the big celebration. Here we go, Dover Hills ribbon cutting. So thank you, we saw quite a few people out there. The ribbon cutting for Dover Hill Elementary School was held on January 12th. Many reasons to celebrate. Students and staff in Columbia and West Central have a beautiful modern school. Construction of the new school was approved by 79% of Joplin voters, and the Dover Hill Elementary School project was completed on time and under budget. So congratulations.
Beautiful.
Next up, 22 terrific years. Miss Joanne Wills was recognized recently at Dover Hills Elementary for an amazing 15,000 hours of volunteer service to Joplin schools over a 22-year period. Miss Wills began her service to the district at Irving Elementary before turning her skills and care to West Central Elementary. Ms. Wills, now 93, has decided to retire from school volunteer duties. Thank you for your dedication to Joplin schools, students, and staff. That's amazing.
She was at the open house.
Thank you. Yes, she was. All right, here we go. This is fresh off the presses, celebrating student growth. Congratulations to staff and students at Jefferson Elementary, East Middle School, and North Middle School for achieving MAP growth scores. These achievements were recently noted in the Beating the Odds report conducted by the St. Louis University's Crime Center. The report highlights schools across the state who are showing growth in MAP scores while serving high concentrations of low-income students. Joplin's Beating the Odds award winners: Jefferson Elementary was top 19 in the state for mathematics growth. Jefferson Elementary top 15 in the state for English language arts growth. East Middle School top 13 in the state for mathematics growth. East Middle School top 5 in the state for English language arts growth. And North Middle School top 12 in the state for mathematics growth. East Middle School was also recognized in Missouri statewide student growth report, which measures the growth of all students. In this report, East was number 17 in the state for English language arts growth. So congratulations to all those schools. It's a lot of hard work to get those growth scores. Next up, FCCLA Stars. Joplin Schools Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America members recently competed in the Region 11 Star events at Carthage High School. Congratulations to Erilyn Hall, Interior Design Level 3. She placed first and earned a bronze medal as well. Ryan Zimmerman, Professional Presentation Level 3, Childhood Obesity Awareness, and he earned a gold medal. So congratulations to both of them. All right, next up, Joplin Schools Parents as Teachers. The effects of Missouri Parents as Teachers on child outcomes. As part of its preschool development grant, DESE contracted with the University of Missouri to examine the effects of Missouri's Parents as Teachers on academic outcomes. Joplin Schools was one of the 28 districts that participated in the study. The study concluded students who received 3 or more Parents as Teachers annual visits had higher rates of school attendance in kindergarten through 3rd grade, proficiency in 3rd grade MAP English language arts, and proficiency in 3rd grade MAP mathematics. So just by having parents as teachers in those kids' lives they're more likely to have a higher attendance in school and score better by third grade. So there's some extremely exciting news, and parents as teachers continuing to reach the youngest in our community. So good job, everyone there. Next up, it's a season opener and a big win. We're very proud of our Joplin School Show Choir. At their first competition of the year, Touch Class took third place in their division, and Sound Dimension took first place in their division and advanced to the finals. Sound Dimension also received the People's Choice Award and the Best Closer in the preliminaries. Sound Dimension performed again in the finals and walked away as grand champions, also receiving the Best Band Award. Their next performance is on February 4th in Joplin's Performing Arts Center. So congratulations for starting the season out. Thank you very much. All right. Next up, we've got committee reports, the data report.
Yeah, so a couple of comments I'll toss out from the data meeting we had last week is attendance still is a challenge across the district, with the high school being the lowest at 90%. Obviously, the teachers can't teach the kids if they're not in school, so that needs to improve. Although it is understood that attendance has dropped all around the area, and I think that's probably a hangover from the COVID. So we need everybody to work on getting the kids back in school, because obviously that'll help. Other one that again, room for improvement is, beginning of year, middle of year test scores for 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th dropped. But on the flip side, K through 3 went up, and 9th, 10th, and 11th went up. So it's odd that we have, that change. A real highlight that I'll call out is we're working on in the kindergarten group with introducing the phonics program. It's had a great result. We went from 28% of kids to 50% of kids are proficient. And I'm a personal believer that if they can read, that helps with the engagement and the understanding. We should help propel them forward as they go on in the future grades. And then one that, I tip my hat to Sarah and her team on is the fact that we're connecting the Head Start program with the curriculum and the teachers that we have here to help with that alignment, prepare the kids for when they do come into our school district. I think, again, is a great touch point that'll certainly help down the road.
Fantastic. Donnie, anything you want to add to that one?
No, it was actually enjoyable the way we did the breakout sessions and went in groups and covered different things. And
so as Donnie and John and I met, each one of our focus areas have specific points, and they created a war room to break it apart, put data up on the wall of where they are, where they've been, to track and measure which direction they're going. It was really a great way to look at something that's normally a 150-page report in a visual, so you can get a good idea of what's advancing and what do we need to focus on. So good job to the team to put that together. So whoever that team would be, no, we appreciate that.
They make me look good. They really do the work.
It was, and we like to ask data questions. Yeah. So it's good to have them, those people on speed now.
I liked the pictures. I think you had the pictures.
Yeah,
and it made it, looking at the pictures made it easy for someone that's not part of the data committee to be able to look at it and kind of quickly decipher through some of that information. So it was a great job, sir. Mm-hmm.
We're watching all these things that are up here. They're not just for decoration. So fantastic job. And then the finance committee met. David?
The finance committee met last week, and we reviewed 2 items. One of the things we're looking at is opportunities to refinance the debt, and those opportunities come and go, but we didn't see anything that made sense at this time, although we've been close. So when we find something that makes sense for the district to save money, we certainly want to take advantage of that. Also, we continue to earn a great interest rate on our investments. We have very conservative investments, but there is some interest revenue being earned. And so as long as we keep those conservative and protecting those funds. The second item we looked at was stipends, and there's been a stipend committee meeting trying to figure out how to stay competitive with others in our conference and our district. And so I think there are some good recommendations, and finance committees looking at ways to fund those and what those should be. So that'll be part of the ongoing budget process as we approach the next budget year.
Fantastic. All right. That's it with the reports. Turn over superintendent's data report.
Okay. Sir Mwangi has some folks coming up to the front, and I'll let her introduce them.
Yes, so we have Libby Bird, who helps coordinate our elementary curriculum, and then she is joined by Kitty Ward and Amber Cooney. And they will actually kind of explain why they're here. But going back to the work we've been doing in primary literacy, we have offered, this is our first year, we've offered some professional development in literacy to the greater district. And so Amber will tell you, she is a high school English teacher, of why she signed up for this. And they're just going to share their experiences because we're really hitting, when you start looking at data, we're hitting beyond primary. That's where we put a lot of our attention, but how do we start moving that forward? So I'll turn it over to Libby.
Okay. So on the first slide, we're going to talk about why did we start the Letters District cohorts.
You have an official remote.
I've got control.
Yeah.
So the buzz really started the year before COVID. We had a group of the younger elementary school teachers, some lit teachers. We started the original Letters cohort. That took a couple of years to get through because we had the pause of COVID. And then those people became facilitators. With that buzz came some people that didn't necessarily live in the elementary world, but they felt the need that there was a strong urge for them to learn the letters professional development and understanding how kids learn to read. So from that, when we created the self-paced micro-credentials, they noticed on that list that letters was an option. Well, letters was an option in the elementary world because we had those facilitators. But because they raised the red flag of, hey, we want this opportunity too, that's when we decided, we really have enough need that we have to start a letters cohort at the district level. Because some of those people don't have a facilitator in their building. Like Amber, there's no facilitator at the high school because we put our focus on the elementary. With that being said, not only was it the high school, but there were middle schools that were interested in the other things we were doing, like 95% group that goes along with letters, and they felt the need to have that knowledge while they were implementing those programs. So in our current district cohort, we have 9 participants. There are 3 elementary schools that are involved in that, the high school. We have an administrator that's in there, and then we also provide support to our non-public areas. So I'm going to introduce to you, this is Kitty Ward. She helps facilitate some of those meetings, and she also is a facilitator for the virtual and another elementary school. She teaches virtually, so she can also kind of glean some perspective from the virtual world and what she has learned from letters and how to move forward with those kids. And then this is Amber Cooney, who teaches ELA at the high school and kind of giving her perspective on why it was important for her to learn the knowledge. So I'm gonna let them talk.
So as Libby said, I'm in the virtual setting right now. I have virtual elementary students, and I'm also, I've been an interventionist with the district for a long, long time. And so I do interventions with the virtual elementary as well as a small group of virtual middle school students. And so what made me get started with letters is that during my time as an interventionist, I worked with many, many kids who were struggling very hard to learn to read. And it seemed like everything that I was doing just wasn't enough. It wasn't working. I didn't see the needle moving. The kids, were just kind of just faltering. And so I knew something wasn't right. My pre-service education didn't prepare me for something. The materials that we had and the curriculum that we had back then was just not cutting it. I was doing everything that I was supposed to be doing or thought I was supposed to be doing, but nothing was really moving for those kids. And so Libby had mentioned how we had a meeting where we were going to learn a little bit more about this new letters training that came out. And so Dr. Monty had asked several of those interventions to go with her. And once the program itself was explained to us that this was teacher training, not a program per se. And teachers hadn't gotten all of the background and the neuroscience of how kids read. I was really intrigued, and so I wanted to learn more. And that's when I decided to jump into the letters training. And, I figured, what on earth the kids aren't learning right now, so let's give this a try. And I've been very, very happy since that's happened.
I'm Amber Cooney, and I teach at the high school, and I'm a parent of kids in the district. I've got 3 girls that are in the district now. And so my journey to letters kind of was some of my awareness raising as a teacher and as a parent. And so I started in the district in 2014, and at that time my oldest was a kindergartner. And so like I'm a brand new teacher in the district, and I've got these students in front of me who just can't read even at the high school level, and I don't know what to do with that, and I'm thinking, how did they get this far? How do I help with this? And then on the same front, I've got my daughter was just doing early literacy. And I learned to read on phonics, and there was it's a long, dramatic, violent history of how reading instruction has been delivered in this country, but there were kind of 2 schools of thought. And I'm sure you guys know a little bit about this after improving letters. I was lucky enough to learn with phonics, and I noticed that my oldest daughter, Emma, was not. And I actually pulled her from the district for a little bit and put her in a school where there was phonics instruction, just because I knew on a gut level almost that she needed that. And I heard a podcast that was kind of, I think we were sharing some of that, and I heard it at the same time on NPR, but just kind of talking about some of that learning science. And then I heard that some of that awareness was raising in Joplin schools, and that there were moves being made to introduce phonics instruction. And I was just one of those squeaky wheel teachers that was like, I need to know this, because I hate not knowing what my students are missing, and I hate wondering if my children are getting what they need, and I just wanted in on the science of reading. So.
And so for how this PD has changed my teaching processes and thinking, as Amber mentioned, there's a long history of phonics instruction versus what they used to call whole language instruction. And I've been teaching long enough that I've seen this tide go, from one to the other. But back when I was in college, the drive was all on this whole language, and phonics was just something extra that they pushed to the side. And so, now that I have taken the letters course and I understand the science behind how kids read, what goes on in their brain when they're reading, and it's not a whole lot different from child to child to child, which is another change in thinking. But I can now see the progression that these kids go through as they're reading. I can pick out, if there's a hole, if they're missing a certain component that they were supposed to get maybe 6 months ago or a year ago, I can see what it is, and I can focus my teaching so that I can fill in that hole so that they can become proficient readers. And I don't have to guess, because the PD has given me tools to, it's more of a scope of how things happen, the progression of how things happen. All I have to do is just think back to that training, look at my resources and say, oh, they don't know how to do long vowel sounds when there's 2 vowels together in the middle of a word. Let's go back and we're going to teach that. And so fills in the hole. I listen to them read. They even know, if I give them some codable books that they can read, and they come to a word that they don't know, it's not a moment of shame or a moment of anything. It's like, oh yeah, we haven't talked about that yet. And so, yeah, you're right, we haven't talked about it yet. That's next on our list of things to do. So that's kind of been how it has improved my teaching, because before it was just, let's give them a book, let's find out what's wrong, let's memorize this word, not doing them any favors at all with their reading instruction. And so, as you can guess, I did that for several years before I took the letter training, and so there was a lot of guilt, and Dr. Wongi and I had talked about, there was a lot of guilt that I passed a lot of these kids on. They probably would become Amber's kids at that point. And so I also was excited to become a facilitator and to help teach other teachers to kind of, lessen the horrible impact that I had on all those kids before I knew better. And so it's been very nice to be able to share that knowledge with teachers who are eager to learn that.
I think for me, it helps on a couple of fronts. It's overwhelming to be teaching students who have so many gaps in their reading, and it affects teachers who want to help students deeply when they don't feel efficacious. It contributes to turnover. It makes us want to lash out at the students because if we don't understand what's happening, we think they're just not trying. And I included a quote, I'm going to steal this from a colleague that in my department wrote this year. And this is the dangerous frustration that I think the Letters program helps with. The only issue with this group of students is the lack of engagement. When students refuse to work, there's nothing I can do. There are an extreme amount of children who do not care if they pass or even graduate from high school. The amount that have told me they are dropping out is staggering. I have told many students that all they need to do is turn in work and pay attention to be successful, and yet they refuse to do so. So you can hear that this teacher is frustrated. She's overwhelmed. She thinks that the students don't care. And I understand more now in just a more complete and informed way why the kids are discouraged. If they walk into my room and I say, hey, read this thing, and they don't understand 50% of it, why will they come? That contributes to attendance, right? And so I understand more of what's going on. So it increases my patience for my students. It helps me to get down on their level. And I don't attack myself so much as a failure, right? Like I understand that it's a systemic problem and that we have a program in place that is working to remedy that. And then soon, yes, I currently have Kitty's kids who miss the mark, but soon I'm going to get Kitty's kids who have gone through the Letters program. And I'm really hoping and I believe that their scores are going to go up over time because those holes are just being filled in more completely by the teachers who have Letters instruction. And I see a really clear difference. I think I talked about this in the next slide. I'm probably getting ahead of myself, but just between my oldest daughter's facility with reading and I have a first grader over at Kelsey Norman who has a teacher who has been through Letters training. And just, it's a night and day difference. I mean, what their reading foundations are. My middle daughter will be a stronger reader by the time it's all said and done, so.
I think that's what actually we saw from the data from the elementary students were actually, the growth was substantial enough to get to, the top 20 in the state on English language. I think it's because we've got something for them to do other than yelling louder. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but what aren't you getting? So anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of answers the next question is what impact have you seen from this learning? Well, obviously we've got that data. I see it just in my daily work. I've got virtual students, but I have several virtual students who come in on a weekly basis for tutoring in reading if they're behind, and some of them for enrichment in reading. And as I had mentioned before, the kids, they know that there's a progression and that they're going to learn, if they come across a word and they don't know how to pronounce it, they can't decode it, they know they're going to learn that. They know that it's coming because, that's one thing that I talk to them about and tell them, there's nothing wrong. You just haven't gotten there yet. We're going to get there. And so they're becoming metacognitive in their thinking, that they, while they're reading, oh, I'm not there yet, I'm gonna, I'm either gonna question that, or I'm gonna, wait for that instruction. And so, with those groups that come in for tutoring, I progress monitor on a weekly basis so that we can see how they're progressing through all of the reading skills that they need at each point in time. And so, and then as I facilitate, I helped Libby with the district cohort, and then I have another cohort that I've been helping to facilitate with. And as I listen to the teachers who are taking the training, I hear some of the same comments that, they can see the progression, they can see the progress as they do their progress monitoring. They don't get stuck anymore where kids are just, existing and not growing. And so we see the growth all the time.
Yeah, and I think what Kitty is talking about, where like they're better at monitoring where they're at and being okay with questioning stuff that they don't understand. That's really the difference that I see between my daughters. My oldest daughter is in advanced reading and advanced comm arts, but there's like an acceptance that there are words that she doesn't know and there's material she doesn't understand, and she just kind of presses on and kind of continues with an incomplete understanding of texts, like she's just kind of accepted that. But my middle daughter, who's in first grade, when she's reading with me at home and she doesn't know a word, she stops and she works with it and she asks me and she tries to sound it out, and she can tap, the sounds and this instruction that she's getting from her teacher. And so she can work through that. And so her confidence when she doesn't know something is so much higher. And the kids that aren't coming to school, they're not confident. They're not confident that they can be successful, and so they just don't come. Like, I think there's a strong relationship between literacy and attendance in this district. I really do. And so for me as a teacher, it's just helped me to slow down. English teachers want to talk about, what's the meaning, and like, how does this apply to our lives? And we want to get there. And I've given myself permission to just stop and slow down and say, okay, let's look at the vocabulary in this text. What do you not know? Let's look it up. How do we plug it in? And just kind of work on some of those skills that are really kind of weak in the student body that I have right now. They aren't confident, and so when they don't know stuff, they don't do the work of looking up words. And these are things that you and I take for granted. If we're reading something and we don't know a word, we'll Google it, we'll go to a dictionary. But my students are aqueous and I'll look that word up when I get home. But, they just kind of like stop, and they just, they say, like, that's a word I don't know, and they just go on. And so I've started doing some of that work in whole class instruction with them, and we've kind of slowed down at the high school level. And I think maybe Letters has kind of given me the permission to do that as a teacher. And so that's good for me.
So the good news is we are hoping, we keep hearing, I don't even know if I should say this out loud, Libby might throw something at me, that they may be coming out with a secondary version where it would be more condensed, because it is intense professional development. It's not for the faint of hearts. It's a lot of knowledge. And so we're just kind of watching and seeing where they go, because it is getting a lot of traction across the nation. We're really fortunate that with your support, we were able to really do the unthinkable of having so many facilitators. We have a lot of facilitators, so it's helped us get this knowledge, out really quickly. And then what do we do from here? We continue to work with our staff within district, but we're also trying to be proactive and partner with our universities as well to make sure that we can inch towards those conversations of this type of training before they ever get to us. So these ladies have done lots of great work. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Toff.
Okay, on the health and dental report, this month we are at the 6-month mark, so halfway through. We spent a little over 3.5 million of our 7.4 budget, which is about 47%. So we're tracking well on that. We did receive a rebate from Optum RX this month on the prescription. I don't know if you noticed the prescription claim on the third page. Was only showing 49,000, but we did receive $153,206 in a rebate this month.
You were anticipating that, though. I think you mentioned that at the previous.
I probably did, because that's what's hard when the meetings are so late. I've already had this month going in there. Yes. And the medical claims in December, we did have 5 weeks of medical claims, so that was appeared to be up a little bit, but that's what was causing that. Otherwise, there's really no major difference. Any questions? Okay, and then on the financial statements, we'll look at page 4, our condensed financial statement. We did see December, we start getting our local tax money in, and so we did see we received $7.4 million in local tax money in December. It's a little less than what we got last year in December. I also noted on there in fiscal year 22, you'll see the little letters out to the side, because last year in December we had the bond refinance, so that threw some additional funds into the local. Was the premium 2.8 million came in there. And see, there was 16.7 million of bond proceeds. And then we had paid off 20 million of our bonds down in the debt service expenditure. So I just wanted to note those, as well as what those major differences were.
I think it's important to note from the financial committee that Shelley's been working on generating interest on the overnight or short term, because our money revenue comes in chunks. And so rather than just let it sit, and we went from 5 years ago getting about $7,000 a year in interest to $367,000 a year.
Huge
And
jump.
that's huge, and that's really well done. So
Yeah, and we'll surpass that easily this year. Yeah. And we did.
What's the rate at now?
Liquid rate is around 4.4, which is pretty good.
Yep.
And then the 180 days seems to be the sweet spot on terms right now. So that's where I've got a lot of that. And we did get our January checks that came in was a little over 20 million that I did send over to MOCAT. So I'm getting that.
Giving the board some more tools of
Yes,
which lever to pull
right.
to make sure you can optimize. So
Mhm.
I think we've done a good job helping capitalize on that stream of revenue that wasn't earning anything before. So good job.
Yeah. Any other questions on the financial statements?
Good. Any public comments, Pat?
No.
No, okay. Next up, we've got the consent agenda minus item 5.
I'd make a motion to approve the consent agenda minus number 5.
Second?
All right, so motion by Derek, second by David. Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, that motion passes. All right, so we're up to regular agenda auditor services bid.
Okay, every 7 years, we do bid out our audit services, so we were due for that to happen this year. We sent out, we posted on the website, and then I did directly send out to 4 firms. The only one that responded was Westbrook again, or the same one that we've had. Kind of comparing the fees on there. The 7-year total fees that they've proposed, or they was $258,720, and 7 years ago, their 7-year total was $233,930. So really not a significant change due to when you consider all of the increase of wages and everything else that's gone on in the last 7 years.
I move to accept the proposal Westbrook and Company for audit services for fiscal years 2023 through 2029.
I'll second that.
All right, motion by Riley, second by Derek. Discussion?
Why that length of term?
You know, I asked Judy that, our local historian, and that has just been what they normally have gone up for. So,
7's a little long. I mean, 5 is more customary. That's why I'm asking.
yeah, and she said since she's been her 30-some years that they've always kind of done a 7-year period. Kind of helps lock in some of those those 2 extra years down the.
Unless rates go down.
Unless, that would be
This is
interesting.
labor, right?
That would be interesting in the audit world, but.
Okay.
I don't know, I think it's, also interesting to know that although we put it out there, she also went out and looked at other local providers. And this was the only response, probably because they knew what we were expecting and it was on maybe the lower end of what some of the bigger firms typically see.
Yes, yeah, I did have a phone call from one out of Illinois, and once they heard what our current fee was, they said, sorry, we, just can't match that, so.
Thank you. All right. Motion by Riley, second by Derek. Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, okay, that motion passes. Next up, accounts payable.
Okay, on the bill list tonight is $10,034,319, a little bit of change. Last year during the same, and we do have a 6-week period between our December meeting and this one, was $12,629,872. And the main difference there was last year we were paying really higher Dover Hill fees at that time, construction fees. So that's the main difference there.
I'd make a motion that we pay our bills.
Second.
Motion by Derek, second by John. Any discussion? Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. All right, that motion passes. Okay, next up.
Surplus? Do we want to
We'll do
put-
surplus first. Okay, we'll do item 5. And then we'll save number 3 for last.
Get Dave.
We'll bring Dave up here too.
Thank you.
So, as you guys know, with the opening of Dover, with the MOU with the city, we have 12 months to raise Columbia Elementary at our own cost. And so starting January 4th, that clock started ticking. And we have modulars at the building. We have 2 sites, the safe room and the building itself, that aren't really safe for occupancy. And what I have learned in this job is the smaller the window, the higher the price goes. And so the goal is to get these taken care of as quickly as possible, especially on the inside. Get the items that we want out that we're going to reuse, get the structures that we want to take and keep out of there. And then that way it's ready to go for everything we need to do for the demolition companies. So, but Dave, anything else to that?
No, like I said, there are several different steps that we're going to need to go through once the building and the property are surplus. And to be able to get those steps started now will help us again, hopefully get us the best prices as we begin to look at the things that we'll have to bid, but also help get that taken care of so that the building's not sitting there, not being having students or anybody else in it.
And surplusing is the first step.
Correct.
I want to make that clear. I think there's some misinformation out there, so I want to make sure to make that clear that that is the first step and being able to get bids and things like that, correct? Perfect.
And then isn't there also some interest in the safe room to being able to sell a portion of?
Yes, there's some companies out there that will actually take the safe rooms apart and reuse them in other places. So
That could
that gives us more
help
time to.
offset some costs.
Correct.
But you can't do that until they're surplus.
Correct.
But moving the modular classrooms isn't an option.
They're pretty rough.
Well, that's what.
And we went to tour the other day.
Yeah.
So,
Not to use those.
Yeah, several years ago, there was a campaign, so to speak, to get rid of the modulars. And that's a lot of the improvements that we made throughout the district. And I am excited the fact that we will not be having modular classrooms anymore for our students, that we've
upgraded our facilities, and our kids are going to be inside and not walking outside to modular. But to your point too, we have been able to sell those in the past, and there's been takers for them. But as we move forward, that would always be a goal, to not have to, like we did in the 70s when I was in school, have a modular
Yeah,
classroom.
I agree. I think we all agree on that point.
Yeah.
I just question how old they are, what's the useful life of them. That's really what I'm.
They've been around quite a while. I don't know exact age, but we've also done some.
I
several
would guess
repairs.
we're in the 25-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking over 20.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And I think the plan over there is to actually use some of the Trex decking or the,
Mhm.
We're
I mean, we're
use
gonna
as
utilize
much-
everything.
We're going to use as much out of the buildings that we can. Repurpose to other buildings, repurpose to other programs as much as possible, so.
But the clock is ticking, we've got
The
12
clock is
months.
ticking
This
to bring it
step
down,
one.
so we gotta have time to get everything out and get what we need and give whoever's gonna take it down plenty of time to.
when will we put that out to bid? Or is that is that being put together now to go out to bid for?
We're beginning the process, anticipating approval from that being surplus, because one of the first things we'll have to do is, well, we want to get the modulars out of there to free up the access for the rest of the building for demolition. So we'll be probably posting those on Gov bids and get that taken care of. And then we have to, of course, do asbestos inspections, asbestos abatement, then post out for the demolition. And we do plan on separating out both the safe room from the building itself so that it may work to an advantage for us financially.
But the modulars don't have asbestos in them. They stopped using that more than 25 years ago.
Yeah,
That's kind of what I was asking.
According to our asbestos management plan, we
Yeah.
should be fine there. So we'll be able to surplus those and sell those as quickly as we can take pictures and get them listed on the site.
Well, I'd make a motion that we approve number 5.
Second.
No,
All right.
Donnie
All right,
seconds.
so motion by Derek, second by Donnie. Please vote.
Yes.
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 Thank you, Matt. Thank you.
Yes, okay, that motion passes, thank you.
Appreciate that.
And last but not least, maybe the most exciting, number 3, Dr. Dickey.
Okay, I'm going to do the final discussion of new board policy, JFB, and she's making her way up here right now. So upon approval of this policy, this is Junior Abigail Eckert, and we're going to have her introduce herself in a second. But as a reminder of this new policy that's coming before you for final approval tonight, this will develop it's a student involvement policy that will establish a student advisor to the Board of Education. It's intended to foster a relationship between the high school and the school board. Our representative will be in this position from January of their junior year until December of their senior year. So 1 year's time from January to December. We want this person to act as a liaison between Joplin High School and the Board of Education. They will attend monthly open session board meetings, report on possible student opinions, issues, and solutions. This position will also regularly attend board work sessions and officers' meetings. And we look forward to hearing their valuable input into the direction and improvement of Joplin schools. And so
I would make a motion that we approve the policy.
I'll second.
All right, I made a motion, Derek second. Let's vote.
Yes.
Good. Here's
No,
some discussion.
I was just going to say thank you to, first and foremost, Brent brought this forward to us in a work session of the policy committee, and it was very positive that we did that. So we're happy that you're here, Abigail, and we look forward to hearing from you soon.
Okay, so vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, okay, so that passes. So now.
Congratulations.
now that
You're
we have
official.
a policy that says,
Hold on.
We've got a rep.
Do we want to invite her to come up?
Why don't we invite her to come up with her
new
nameplate?
Perfect.
So,
You just don't have a name yet.
why don't you sit in Greg's spot?
Right here.
Very good. And,
So-
and while she's coming up, I want to thank Ms. Trevino and Ms. Bagby, the student council sponsors at Joplin High School. They do a fine job. Some of our board members here have had students in the Stuco program. It's an excellent program. Our kids do a lot of good stuff. They spend a lot of time, and they also do a lot within the classroom as with the students, because leadership is what we're trying to teach at the high school. And yesterday we had a nice orientation, a very good orientation with Ms. Bagby and Abigail, and I'm really excited about what Abigail can bring to the Board of Education in our meetings and discussions, and so we'll just let her tell a little bit about herself and why she's interested.
Okay, well, thank you. Like they said, I'm Abigail Ecker. I'm a junior at the high school. I'm very excited about this new position. You could say I'm pretty involved in the school. I'm a student athlete and I'm in about 9 different clubs. I play volleyball, run track, and I recently joined the powerlifting team. I hold an officer position in many of my clubs, but my favorite has to be student council. I'm the student body vice president, which makes me the vice president of student council. We do a lot for the school, and we're constantly bringing up new ideas and getting the students more involved. I could list out all my clubs if you wanted, but just a couple of them include FBLA, National Honor Society, Peer Buddies. Right now in school, you told me to talk about school a little bit, so I'm taking some AP classes. I've taken many science classes, almost all of the ones that are offered at the high school. After high school, I plan on attending college and then going off to med school to become a doctor. That's about all I have to say.
Very good. Glad to have you.
Yeah.
We're excited. There's about less than 10% of the school districts in Missouri have a student representative, and I'm proud that we're kind of leading the way in our area. And thank you for being willing to serve and step into a role that's not exactly fleshed out completely.
Yeah.
But I know you're going to do well, and as you have a list of accomplishments already, and you're not out of school yet, so you still have time for the education piece of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes,
Sure.
yeah. I still am in school.
Yeah, well, thank you for your willingness to serve and being that representative and that conduit when we have actions and activities that are going to impact young adults. It's good to have that perspective to rely on as well, so.
And we will work something into the agenda, probably up in the superintendent or board report, that she'll give us a monthly report from the high school or the school district in general. Just a few items each month to report out to us, and then be here in case we have questions during a meeting as well. If something that's very directly that pertains that you may have some extra knowledge about. So anyway.
Fantastic.
Fantastic.
All right, now we're to the pluses and deltas. All right, anybody?
I'd say a plus is having a student with us. I think that's phenomenal.
Very good.
I agree.
I just call it the other plus again on what we're doing with the phonics and reading program. I believe that starts at the very beginning of their school curriculum in kindergarten, and to see the progress that they're making, bringing kids and engaging them. It's fantastic. Keep it up, because that's something that will certainly bear fruit as they move through grades and get more and more kids engaged. So I commend the group on their efforts on that, and keep it up.
And also seeing how some of our schools are excelling in the state of Missouri. Looks great.
It's fantastic, and not everybody knows what growth is, but I guess each year you're supposed to grow 1 year. It makes sense. And even though we may be behind, we're growing at a faster rate to catch up. So you can't expect somebody that's far behind to be immediately where they're supposed to, but we're making gains and catching up. And the goal would then be to have everybody proficient or advanced by the time they're ready to get out of here and make this phonics. I mean, what is it they say? Look, done phonics work for me.
I'll add to that with PAT, because I think the other really important piece, 90% of a child's brain develops before they're 5. So that PAT part is really critical, birth to 5, that we start getting our families involved in that learning and that knowledge.
And same with the childcare in the area, that we had the summit last year where we're connecting the childcare providers. Also, these are the things we'd like them to know coming in as a kindergartner.
Right.
That allows us to start with everybody not on the same spot, but at least with the same goals in mind. And maybe that provides a head start as well. So it's great that we're getting everything aligned so that each stage is supporting the next stage. So.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I would like to thank our teachers who were here tonight, our teachers who are in the audience. It's very nice to have them with us and to provide their insight. And I'm excited when they're excited with their work. So it's very nice. Something that was meaningful to me when I was learning more about running for the school board was Sheriff Dermott, the president at the time, thanked me for coming and learning more about what's happening in the district. So thank you to the candidates in the audience as well for being here tonight and learning more about the Joplin School District.
Yeah, very good. Yes. Shout out to the candidates for coming and being part of it. And then also I want to thank the board members for going around to the schools. What you saw in the data room the other night for the people that were involved in the data committee was some of the fruits of the labor that what you saw in action when you were in the schools. And one of the things that we've tried to do this year is make sure that we're in the schools more than we have been in the past from central office perspective, at least try to improve the time that we spend there, and then also get the board members there so they can see exactly what is on this wall that's happening. So I want to thank the principals and the teachers especially for all the work that they've done. This is the time of year, January, February, when it's kind of gloomy outside and whatever, and can't do a whole bunch of other things. But this is the time that we buckle down real hard, and what happens now is going to pay off in April and May when we take tests and those kind of things and try to improve our achievement and get kids across the stage. So appreciate everybody's work in that, and that's first and foremost, and we'll keep hitting it every day.
Jeff, I've got two real quick. One to follow up on what Carrie said and what you said earlier about being up in the war room and the engagement of the principals in that, breaking out into the little work groups was really great to have that interaction with them and to watch how they interpreted the data and reported that to the group. I thought that was very interesting and enjoyable. And the second would be the recently most of us went through school walkthroughs. And first off, the acceptance of allowing the board members to be there. I know from when David and I went through the MSBA training, not all districts have that accessibility for the board. And for us to be able to have that access and to go in there and actually walk into classrooms and see the teachers' engagement and also watching other teachers, how they interact with those teachers and respond and interact with each other is really key to our understanding of what's happening in the district. And just want to say thank you for both of those.
Very good.
Fantastic. All right.
I would make a motion to adjourn to closed session.
Second.
Per 610.021, hiring, firing, disciplining, and promoting particular employee. Would you like me?
Motion by Derek. It's written there.
Second.
Second by John. Please vote.
Yes.
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 And yes. All right. We're adjourned.
Yay.